How could you lie to me about this, Mia? After everything we've been through, you still packed his lunch.
I didn't mean to, Noah.
When I walked in after a 14-hour shift, still smelling faintly of coffee and car grease, the first thing Noah said wasn't hi, it was, "You owe Layla an apology." No hug, no kiss, just that. His voice had that steady, fake calm people use when they've already decided you're the villain. I dropped my keys into the bowl by the counter. I owe her what now? He crossed his arms, leaning against the fridge like a disappointed teacher. "You embarrassed her at the barbecue," he said. "You were jealous and you made a scene." I blinked. Jealous? You mean when she put her hand on your shoulder and left it there for 10 full seconds, like she was reading your muscles in Braille? He exhaled sharply. She was being supportive. "I'd just told her about the promotion, right," I said dryly, because touching someone's shoulder is clearly the HR-approved way to celebrate. He didn't flinch. He'd rehearsed this conversation, probably in the mirror, perfecting his tone until it sounded like reason. "You're being paranoid again," he said. "Layla's been my best friend since college." "You've always had an issue with that." Ah, there it was. The word that ends every argument before it begins. Paranoid. It's like calling someone emotional during a debate. You've already won by default. I just stood there for a while. I wasn't angry, not in the way he wanted. No shouting, no broken dishes, just a cold, measured stillness. The kind that doesn't burn, it calculates. "Okay," I finally said. He blinked, caught off guard. "Okay?" "I'll apologize," I said, keeping my voice even. "You're right." If I'd recorded his face at that moment, I could have sold it as a masterclass in confusion. He smiled too quickly, like a politician who suddenly realized he'd won the crowd. "Thank you," he said softly. "That means a lot. I want us to feel normal again." I nodded, but didn't touch him. "Sure, me too." That night, he scrolled through his phone in bed beside me, thumb flicking, soft giggles slipping through the glow of the screen. He didn't notice that I wasn't sleeping or breathing much at all, and as the ceiling fan spun above us, I realized something simple, terrifying, and cold. This wasn't a marriage anymore, it was a PR campaign, and I hadn't approved the script. So yes, I'd apologize, but not for what he thought, and not in the way he expected. The next few days felt like walking through a movie set after the actors had gone home. Everything looked the same, but none of it felt real. Noah hummed while he made coffee, smiled a little too easily, and said things like, "Layla helped me fix that client report. She's such a lifesaver." I nodded, pretending to listen, but I'd stopped hearing his words. I was studying his eyes. You can tell a lot by how someone looks at their phone. Some people glance at it like it's a tool. Noah looked at his like it was breathing. He'd smile at the screen, not a wide, performative smile, but a quiet, secret one, the kind that doesn't belong to anyone in the room. I could have been sitting 3 feet away, and I still would have felt like an extra watching a private scene I wasn't invited to. Thursday night, after dinner, he said he was hopping in the shower. His phone buzzed twice on the counter. Once, then again. The preview lit up the dark kitchen. "You looked amazing today." No name, just a contact icon, a gray circle, initials LR. I'm not the snooping type, never have been, but there's a difference between paranoia and pattern recognition. I picked up the phone. No passcode, just a swipe. That, more than anything, told me what I needed to know. He wasn't hiding because in his mind it wasn't cheating. Not really. There weren't any nudes, nothing you could throw in front of a jury and call evidence. But it was worse than that. It was curated affection. Little breadcrumbs of devotion. Selfies from work. Pictures of his lunch with, "You'd love this" captions. Screenshots of memes they'd only find funny together. Voice notes with laughter too long to be innocent. Her calling him, "You jerk," when he teased her about something. A thread of, "You get me" texts that felt like emotional fingerprints. Harmless, right? That's what people always say. Except it wasn't harmless, because it was ours. Once. I didn't rage, didn't shake. I just scrolled, methodical, detached, saving timestamps and screenshots like I was cataloging the slow erosion of a coastline. Then I created a private folder in my email, labeled it Truth. When he came out of the shower, towel around his waist, skin still damp, he saw me sitting on the edge of the bed, staring out the window. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Thinking," I said quietly. "About what?" I turned to look at him, calm and unreadable. "About the apology." He smiled, relieved, maybe smug, and kissed my forehead. He had no idea what kind of apology I was preparing. By Saturday morning, the silence in our house had a sound. A thin, humming tension, like electricity behind a wall. Noah stood in the kitchen slicing strawberries, sunlight spilling across the counter like nothing had changed. He wore that soft, domestic smile people practice when they need the world to believe they're fine. "I don't get why you're making this weird," he said casually, without looking up. "Layla's fiancé doesn't mind our friendship. Why should you?" There it was, the holy shield of innocence. If someone else approves, then it must be harmless, right? I folded the newspaper, keeping my voice even. "Maybe I'll talk to her fiancé," I said. "Clear the air." The knife stopped mid-slice. He froze. Barely, but enough. "You'd really do that?" His tone cracked, too fast, too defensive. "Sure," I said, smiling slightly. "Might help me understand it from his side." That was the moment I knew I had him. A flicker of panic disguised with a smile. People who are guilty always overcompensate with cheer. He started talking too much after that, joking, rambling, pretending to be unbothered. I nodded at all the right places, but my mind was already moving ahead, cold, precise. That night I sat in the quiet living room, laptop open, phone buzzing beside me. I wasn't doom-scrolling or stalking. I was mapping. Dates, times, photos, messages. Every night he stayed late at work. Every weekend she posted from girls' brunch. Patterns started forming like constellations. A dinner here, a hotel conference there. Small details, harmless on their own, incriminating together. By 2 a.m. I had a spreadsheet, not of finances, not of errands, of truth. Columns for screenshots, rows for dates. I wasn't hunting for a single bombshell. I was building a timeline of decay. By Monday, it was ready, neat, organized, undeniable. Messages, photos, overlaps. A story in data. That morning, Noah made my coffee, kissed my cheek and said, "You're still going to apologize, right?" "Yeah," I said, sipping. "I've got it handled." He smiled, relieved, brushing a strand of hair from his face. "Thank you for being mature about it." I laughed softly. "Yeah," I said, setting the mug down. "That's me." That afternoon, I grabbed a manila folder, slipped the printed evidence inside, and wrote one word on the cover. Closure. But it wasn't Noah or Layla I planned to see. It was her fiancé. Because in every secret, there's one person who deserves to hear the truth. The one who never even knew there was a story being told about them. Layla and her fiancé, Mark, lived in a clean, quiet suburb just outside Seattle. One of those neighborhoods where every driveway looks like an ad for domestic stability. Perfect lawns, matching mailboxes, the kind of place where no one ever yells, but every third marriage hides something cracked beneath the granite countertops. I parked across the street, folder on the passenger seat, sat there for a full minute, letting the hum of my engine fade. Then I grabbed the folder, walked up the steps, and knocked. Mark opened the door. He had that easy, polite smile of a man used to being liked. Until he saw who it was. "Oh, hey," he said uncertainly. "Noah's wife, right?" "Mia?" "That's right," I said evenly. "Can we talk?" Just for a moment. He hesitated, eyes flicking past me like he was expecting cameras. But then he nodded, stepping aside. Sure. Layla's just out getting groceries. Good, I said quietly. This is for you. We sat in the living room, the kind with perfect throw pillows, scented candles, and a carefully placed coffee table book about mindfulness. I set the folder down between us. What's this? He asked. The truth, I said simply. He frowned, flipped it open, and the silence that followed was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. Messages, screenshots, pictures, nothing overtly sexual, just intimate enough to hurt like hell. He didn't blink for a long time. Then, quietly, he said, How long? Months, I said. Maybe longer. I stopped counting after I realized I was the last to know. He nodded slowly, eyes fixed on the evidence like he was staring at the aftermath of a car crash he couldn't stop replaying. She said you were jealous, he muttered, more to himself than to me. Yeah, I said. That's what guilty people call intuition. He gave a soft, hollow laugh. Layla's always been good at emotional camouflage. I know, I replied. So was Noah. He rubbed a hand over his face. Does she know you're here? No, but she'll find out soon. He looked up at me. Grief, shock, a strange kind of gratitude flickering together. Thank you, he said quietly, for not letting me live in the dark. I stood. You deserved the truth. We both did. As I reached the door, he stopped me. What are you going to do? I turned back, one hand on the knob. I already did it, I said. I told you. And as I stepped out into the cool November air, my phone buzzed. Noah's name lighting up the screen. Call after call after call. I didn't answer, because in that moment, the truth wasn't mine to deliver anymore. It had a life of its own now. When I walked back into the house, the air was already thick with lemon cleaner and desperation. Noah always cleaned when he was nervous. Not deep cleaning, just the frantic surface kind. Wiping the same counter over and over, hoping it would erase guilt instead of crumbs. He turned when he heard the door. Where were you? He asked, voice trembling between anger and fear. Apologizing, I said simply, setting my keys down. His expression flickered, confusion first, then dread. Apologizing? To who? To Mark. Silence. Then came the shift, that tiny crack before the collapse. You what? His voice rose. You told him? You had no right. I met his eyes. You had no right to make me the fool in my own marriage. He froze, hands still damp from wiping the counter. It wasn't like that, Mia. Layla and we just connected. You were always so what? I cut in. Distant? Busy? Tired? That's your excuse? Emotional cheating doesn't happen because someone's distant, Noah. It happens because you go looking for something you should have been fighting for here. His jaw clenched. It wasn't physical. I laughed softly. Then why are you shaking like it was? He didn't answer, just stood there, chest heaving, realizing every line he'd rehearsed sounded like a cliché out loud. I didn't mean for it to get this far, he whispered finally. She listened. You used to, I took a slow breath, steady, cold. I used to because I believed you deserved to be heard. You stopped deserving that a long time ago. The silence between us thickened. No yelling, no slamming doors, just a quiet unraveling. He stepped closer. Mia, please, don't do this. We can fix it. I'll block her. I raised a hand. Stop. He did. This isn't about her anymore. It's about me, I said. I've spent months shrinking so you could keep your secrets. I'm done folding myself into your lies just to make you comfortable. He blinked, tears forming, voice cracking. So what now? You're leaving? I nodded. Yeah, for once I'm choosing peace over proof. I picked up the small bag I'd packed days ago. Toothbrush, sweater, phone charger. He reached for me, but I stepped back. You ruined everything, he said, voice breaking. No, I said, meeting his eyes. I just stopped pretending. I walked out the door. No slam, no drama, just the sound of truth closing quietly behind me. That night, I checked into a small apartment across town. No TV, no chaos, just air, just silence, just me. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel small. Because sometimes the loudest kind of freedom is the kind that leaves quietly.